No. Those of you who know my story know that it did not start out this way. I started out wishing I could become a doctor, and I spent many years studying science. I went to medical school, and those who don't know the story, well, the sad part of it is by my fourth year in medical school, I'd failed the final exams, and I was withdrawn from the program. I wanted to be a doctor for perhaps two reasons. One, because I have passion. I truly believe in doing something meaningful while I am on this earth. And the second reason is I like people. I like to be around people. I like to learn something new. And bringing those two together, I thought a course in medicine would be best for me. However, I discovered after several years that there was one element that was missing at the time. Because I started medical school when I was very young. I was 16 when I started medical school. I did not have the discipline for the long hours of work that was required to study medicine. I was young, I was distracted, and I failed, and I paid the price. It would take me several years to get back on my feet, but within those years, I learned so many things about myself, about my family, about the world around me, and those are things that I've applied now being a broadcaster and in that long journey to where I am today. So one thing you should remember is that failure is never the end unless you allowed it. If, like me, you failed in some pursuit, I failed in medical school, and you give up, it is the biggest mistake you will ever make. People sometimes look at an individual who's achieved something and they only look at what they have achieved. They don't look at the journey. My journey is a fairly interesting one. As I mentioned earlier on, I started out in medical school. That didn't go too well. I was living in Nigeria. My parents were academics. They were teaching in that country at the time. We returned to Ghana. I had no degree. I had no friends. I knew nobody. And it was a pretty depressing time. However, I still had a lot of desire and ambition in my heart to do something. I ended up at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and I was in a department called Schools Broadcast. My main role was reading scripts for a program called Everyday English. It was nice, it was interesting, but it did not satisfy my desires. So after national service, I went to the management of GBC and asked them if I could become a news presenter, and I was roundly told no. Therein lies a lesson. In life, whatever you want to achieve, there are people who are going to tell you no. You have two options: to accept it and be discouraged, or to accept that they have said no and to keep moving in the direction that you want to go. It would take me another 2 years before I ever got any meaningful job in media, and that job was at Joy FM. I started out at Joy FM not as the host of a high-profile morning show, but as the presenter of something called the Mobitel Traffic Watch. I would sit at the back of a motor scooter with a mobile phone and report the traffic news. There weren't many people who were willing to do work like that because it's not the most glamorous thing. It is not the thing that you show off with. Many people want the glory, but they don't want to put in the hard work. I hope that's not you. I started out reporting traffic. I was given the opportunity to start presenting weekend programs, and eventually I made it to the high-profile, top-rated morning show. And some would say, and the rest is history, but no, a lot of hard work would follow. Before you go global, you need to start local. Be small, but think big. You see, a lot of people want to be the big face on screen, or they want to be the great voice on radio, but they don't want to start small. I started small. It did not matter to me whether anybody knew my name. I continued to work, to put in the kind of discipline that is required to achieve great things. Anybody who has achieved great things started small. The next point I want to make is about standards. What standards do you set for yourself? I often hear people say something like, oh, by Ghanaian standards, this is good, or, oh, by African standards, this is good. Look, there's only one standard, and that is a global standard. If you set the bar low for yourself, you will achieve things that are low. If you set the bar high, you will achieve great things. So set a standard for yourself that that reflects on the things you want to achieve. Do not set low standards. Aim high and cross that bar. My third point, set targets to measure your own progress. You cannot decide that you are going to become the next great thing, whether it's in science or in medicine or in sport or in broadcasting, if you do not have a target, a plan, and a time frame. If you're just plodding along thinking, oh, eventually I'll get there, you will not get there. You won't even know if you have. You need to set a clear time frame. By this date, I need to have done this. By that date, I need to have done that. If you do not set those very clear and defined time frames within which you intend to achieve your goals, you will find that you do not achieve them at all. Let me return to our point about being local, but thinking global. The transition from local to global does not mean you have to physically leave your locality. Yes, I work in Britain, I work around the world, but when you're forging your greatness, you forge it where you come from. All the elements of what you see or you think that I've achieved were forged at home. So start building your standards, start building the quality of whatever you want to do. Start achieving those goals right where you are, so that when you do get on a global platform, the cake has already been baked. You're already ready to take on the world.